Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Dance Diaries. I'm Carol.
And I'm Kim. Welcome, everyone.
We are so excited today. We have a special guest, Edson Jeune, who is the go-to masseuse for the Pro-Am ballroom dancers. And we have him as our special guest in our first interview here on the Dance Diaries. Along with being the go-to masseuse, he has a list of accolades, and I just want to read them through to make sure that I get them correct. Firstly, he is a 4-time World Senior Latin finalist, a WDO World Senior 1 Latin champion. He is a U.S. National Senior 1 Latin champion and currently represents the United States as a Senior 1 Open Latin champion. Edson, welcome to the Dance Diaries. Edson, so I'm really interested in how you were partnering, being your partner in New York and when you were in Germany. And we talked briefly about how I believe you said you had mental practice is what you were doing. I'd love to learn more about that.
Yes, I did. I did a lot of that. I mean, what I've learned is also, well, first of all, I really enjoy when I hear music, I automatically put a dance to it, right? Automatically, there's a dance that goes to it. And when that happens, automatically, I'm in my head doing my routine. This is what I do a lot when I'm away. Even when I'm in New York, even when I'm in the bus, it doesn't matter where I am. If there's music playing, if there's sounds, there's a routine going on in my head. There's a dance going on in my head. So I did a lot of that. I still do a lot of that. And also I do a lot of practicing in my own kitchen. After dinner, normally that's the time. After dinner, I get up. I'm like, oh, okay, I have energy. My belly's full. Let's dance.
Kim's laughing because I think she does that every night.
I put on the music and I just go. I just start like doing all
I'm holding myself back because if
right? I don't
know if you could see, I have this beautiful flooring. Thank you, God. Yeah. And I just move my stuff and that's it. And and I also have a ballroom. I'm blessed to have a ballroom where I live too. So yeah.
Nice.
It's great.
So this is why
this is true passion
to stay on track with my own improvement, so that when I see my partner and then when we touch hand, it might take like 30 minutes and boom, right back on track, like we saw each other like the previous day.
See, I just love that. I do a lot of what you've just said there, and I find that completely enhances how I see myself, not only in practice, but as a competitive pro-am ballroom dancer. I completely visualize how I'm going to present myself in a competition as well. And I think that that's a big part of readiness. Kim and I spent a lot of time talking about that. And so how has that evolved then for you if you do a lot of that? I understand that, Kim, you were telling me that Edson is a coach as well for pro-am dancers. Is that part of what you go through as well? I'd love to learn more there.
Yes, definitely. That's part of what I teach as well. That's part of what I teach to some of my clients. And this is also one thing that really helps them improve, because as not all pro-am students, but most pro-am students, they have regular life, right? They have their regular work. Dancing is a way for them to get away from everything else in their life. It's that they're what do you call that? Their little
meditation space or calm space or peaceful area.
They have their lesson and then they just go, right? Because they have to go do something else. So I start teaching them that, okay, we know you have a busy life. However, if you can manage to have that lesson, whether you have 10, 15 minutes at the studio and you practice afterwards or not, you got to keep practicing what you just learned mentally. If you in bed, close your eyes and just think about what you just learned. And that's one way for sure to improve really fast in your own dancing.
Repetition and impact.
Repetition, yeah, because it's a lot of people, a lot of time, unfortunately, they wait for competition to get ready and everything.
To get competition ready.
Right. It's like, rah, rah, get competition ready at the competition, right? right.
Rah,
It
rah.
doesn't really work.
Get rah, rah. Let's
Right.
get competition ready at the
At the
competition.
competition, right. So what I really have been preaching and coaching my clients is everything you want to do at the competition needs to happen at home, needs to happen at the dance studio, right? And you need to practice them on a regular basis. That's when you're going to get much better when you get to a competition. That's when you're going to be relaxed. That's when you're going to have more confidence when you're at the competition, because the confidence is built. So I'm jumping track, but they all
Yeah, I love
kind
it.
of interact, interlace. That confidence that you want happens at the dance studio. It happens at home. When you close your eyes and you can see your whole routine, if you can go in your own head by yourself, in your own step, your whole routine, you're good already.
Kim,
You
this
have to
is
give
That's
me
amazing, right?
right. I
We should
do
have had
that.
Edson to our stamina and rounds,
Oh, I do.
incredible. So
I was just going to say, Kim, I
Carol's so
wanted to
great with this.
share. I
Yeah.
love that because
Carol
it's
is
and
so great at this. Yeah.
I go to the gym and I do all of my rounds and I do like 19 different dances. Okay. I can go through them and I visualize myself with an actual person dancing with me. So I'm able to go through it, right, Kim? I was telling you on my own, even though sometimes, obviously you need to be led and lead and follow and all that.
Mm-hmm.
But no matter where I am, I have that ability to mentally visualize the entire routine. And I think that makes a difference for me anyway, Edson, because I only go to the studio maybe once a week and versus maybe some that go several times a week. So I have to find other measures to get better at it. And it sounds like that's a real good best practice, right?
And
Oh,
I think
sure.
for you though, Carol, I would take it a step further. You don't only do it mentally. You actually Carol, as far as I know, you actually go through your combinations.
I do.
Like,
Everything
by herself. And I think and I have done that and I do that. I don't do it as regularly as you do, but practicing on your own, not just physically and mentally. Mental is the harder part because once you leave the studio, most people, okay, on to the next thing, and then they
Right.
forget. The physical part comes easier because you turn on the music and you go, right? But I want to get into the coaching and how you're going to translate that to bringing this to the pro-am dance world, which you're starting to do right now with your new coaching program. And I want to be able to incorporate things that Carol does, and you guys both do, and I do as well, getting by ourselves on our own 2 feet. And how does that breed confidence? But here's what I got from you today, if you don't mind me sharing, Edson. My mission as a coach is to help dancers find peace, enjoyment once again in their dancing.
Yes.
Talk more about that.
love that.
The reason I said once again, which is key for me, because I notice, and the beautiful thing is, right, as a massage therapist, people tell me everything. People tell me everything.
If you share anything, I will never talk to you again.
No, really, because you can see the frustration. I mean, granted, people come and see me, they're all happy. However, when you start talking, you can hear the frustration, you can see it. Now, since I started coaching dancers, I started sitting back and watch how they practice, how they interact with each other, how they communicate with each other, right? And I noticed dancing is fun for everyone. We all started dancing because we want to have fun, we love it, and it brings us joy. Once you put the word competition into it, the fun is out of the window for a lot of people. Everything becomes like hardcore, got to get everything perfect, everything had to be right. My hair has to be straight. If there's like one hair sticking out, forget it. This is the end of the world, right? People forget why they started dancing. A lot of people forget why they started dancing. And this is why you see a lot of partnerships split, a lot of people yelling at each other, whether it's the teacher yelling at the student like unhappy. I mean, people act, they don't act their best.
Right.
when there's
You
competition,
are so, it
competition
is
mode.
so true. I'm going to share a really brief story very, very quickly.
Right.
And I'm sharing this for not anything about me, but it's really about it goes to exactly what you just said, right? I get on the floor and I don't compete with anyone else. I compete with myself. I went to world competition, became American Rhythm silver world champion in July of 2022. I went to
Yeah.
nationals. I know you were there.
With
You
a
saw me
franchise
take
studio.
world
Yeah.
champion silver
Yes.
rhythm. Okay, that was in July of 2022. In October of 2022, that same year, I went to nationals and I could barely make quarterfinals, semifinals or finals. And the reason is, to your point, that first step on the dance floor in that very first round, I knew that those ladies were competing. And I started to compete and I started to get, and my dance partner said to me, "You lost when you started to compete."
Right.
So to your point, exactly that. I go on the dance floor, I'm competing with myself, I'm having fun, I'm bringing to the dance, to the competitive floor what I learned in the studio. And then when the competition starts, I got out of my headspace and I got into their headspace and I let them get into my headspace and I lost. How do you become a world champion and not be, and then months later at a national can't make quarterfinals or
Right.
semifinals?
Right.
It was crazy. So that brings me to my next point, because you're going to help. And this is you, these again are your words that you shared with me. Help people, help them figure out what works best, what works for them and what doesn't. Tell me about that in your coaching, because that is so incredible. Because as dancers, Carol, I'm going to deflect to you. I
Sure.
think you know better what works for you, right? Than I
Sure.
know better than what works for me. And I think someone like Edson, helping them figure out what works and what doesn't. How do you do that?
Well, the whole idea of coaching, at least, the way I approach it is helping people figure out who they are
As a dancer,
as a person,
as
as
a
a
person
dancer,
first. Okay.
as a person first, as a dancer. I mean, I think one of the hardest and most beautiful thing in this world is when you can learn about yourself, like who you actually are deep down inside. What
Mm-hmm.
makes you tick? What makes you who you are, right?
I love that. That right
That's my belief.
there. Kim and I both talk a lot about, why most people love to dance, and it's beyond a hobby. It's who you are. It's inside of you. If I were to answer a lot of that, in terms of my self-awareness, I'm very aware that I love to perform. I love the joy of dance. I love how it is resonates, just comes out of your pores when you dance. And a lot of people who watch feel that and they see
Yes,
that, and I don't do it with purpose. It just comes out naturally like
yes,
that, right? So
that's
for
beautiful.
me, isn't that, is that's what you mean?
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think there's something
How
to be said
how
there, Kim, for that, for,
Yeah, 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 yeah. And I think actually, Carol, you said something, you don't do it with purpose. I think you do deep down. Like I think your subconscious brings that purpose forward. You are
okay.
so purposeful in your dancing.
If it were for how I exude joy, yes, I
Mhm.
am purposeful on making sure that every turn, every extension of hand, whether it's a head movement, a balance, what have you, it is with purpose of expression, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that joy just sort of comes out, Edson, I would
Yeah.
say, right?
Yeah.
So do you, when
Now,
you coach, do you have conversations with people about learning about them, or do you see it through their dancing, Edson?
I see. I like to have the person send me a clip, or most of the
Oh.
time I already see them dance, right?
Mm-hmm.
'Cause I work with a lot of them. I already work with them either as a therapist or I know
Mm-hmm.
them by watching them dancing. So since I observe a lot more, I can start telling exactly, okay, this is what the person sometimes I'm wrong, of course. Of course, I can be completely wrong, and that's okay. But a lot of time I can tell, okay, this is what I notice, especially not just on the dance floor, also how the person carry themselves off the dance floor, how they interact with their teachers. Like what is the
Can you
mean?
tell me more about that? Because Kim and I have had an interview where we've discussed this. And what does that, how is that telling from one part of that to the other? What do you have an example? And you don't have to, it's not about names, it's about behavior. What have you noticed there?
Oh, I'm going to give you an example. There were two couples that were competing for the top world title, right? I mean, they were at it. They were so close that they were tied 2-2, and then the final dance, which is jive, turned one couple into the champion. The other couple, after they lost that competition, you can tell they were deflated. They were not only defeated that one day, they were deflated because every time I saw them dance, every time I saw them walk onto the dance floor, every time I saw them walk at a competition, interact with other people, you can tell they weren't even gonna be make a dent against the other couple.
Do you think that's because they didn't learn techniques for recovery or to rebuild up their confidence?
I think that has some to do with it. That definitely they need. I think they should reach out to someone, and they need to reach out to someone
Right.
to
So
recover
coming from a coach, I feel like, and this happens to us all the time in daily life, not only on the dance floor, on the competition floor, we allow outside circumstances, situations, people, and events to affect our emotions and how we make decisions. And when, listen, it happened all day long today. I had a whole bunch of stuff going on, and I had, choice to make. Can I let this stuff affect everything else or not? Right. And it happens to us. It's kind of like, what is the mental attitude that we possess before we're stepping onto that competition floor? And we have to have that fortitude and that mental and emotional strength to be able to leave everything out there. And I have seen competitors, and tell me about this, Edson, who have messed up. I was watching the other night on a video. They were in their final round of there was Rising Stars, watching on video, Rising Stars, final round, and she fell. She slipped and just fell out of her feet and just got back up for the bow and just owned it. It was like, who cares? Great, I fell. And that's what coaching, that's what we need, I want to bring it back to your coaching strategy. I want to bring it back to how you translate this to the pro-am dance world, because there are other points here that you had mentioned. You work on learning how to practice and improve at a faster rate. Carol and I talk about this all the time.
The 3-in-1 program, Kim.
Carol, explain your 3-in-1 program, because
so
Edson, and without
I don't know it. Yes,
without dropping anything, but because this to me hits home. Really, that hits home in a big way, and I want to learn from you how your coaching program is gonna, how you're gonna translate that to someone like us.
Is Carol gonna go
wait,
first?
Carol,
do you want me to
Carol, go first?
So it's just a funny. So I always try to be as productive as I can be in my lesson, right? So I tell Kim that I try to go in with the mentality of the 3-in-1 program. I want to learn 3 times as much as I can, an average person, so that I might assimilate that with my 1 time a week lesson that I do, so that I go and I will practice that, or I'll work on it for the days to come until I return. So I will do I'll try to learn as quickly as I can, but assimilate everything. And then I will look for more and try to be as productive as I can be. So it's just an approach I take.
That's
I call
it the 3-in-1
dancer
model. I love it.
I'm sure it's no different than the one in one model. But
I want to learn from you, Edson, how you translate that. How do you do that? How do you teach your students in your coaching program how to actually accomplish that?
Accomplish speed and
the point of learning strategies faster, learning how to practice and improve at a faster rate.
right. Okay. So each person is different, as we know. What is very common with a lot of people is our views and our focus is just spread out too much, right? So if you go to a lesson, if you go to practice, it has to be very deliberate. It has to be very focused, very zoomed in. What is the purpose for today? And let's stick to that point. I mean, I fall for this all the time as well, right? Where I go to practice, I walk in, my first conversation with my partner is what is our purpose for today? What are we going to accomplish? Once it gets more to like in a list like of more than three, and I'm like, okay, that's enough. Still, I get off track, right? Because I get stuck on something else. And then I have to wheel myself back in and say, nope, we're off track. Let's stay on track. So if you have that mentality of staying on track and know exactly what is the purpose of each practice or each lesson you go into, right? That is a faster way for you to improve for sure. Like there's no ifs and buts about it. That is a faster way for you to improve your dancing, your skills, your capabilities, so that you can
I like having a plan, and I think it goes back to the topic of being that technician that I am. You know, I like being able to plan things out, and I happen to have a partner who works with me in that way. You know, here's what, you know, if he knows that I have a competition coming up in a certain amount of months, let's just say, because I'll go by months. I don't go every other week. So we will plan out what we think we'll need to tackle. I'll know what that is, and we will focus on that. And if, because of my interest in the 3-in-1 program I just called it, sometimes we will squeeze in another
trademark
piece.
That.
Maybe. So, but then I'll squeeze in another part of it so that I have, I think it's good sometimes to shake it up so that you're not just, you know, looking at one thing through one lens. Sometimes if you shake it up and practice something a little bit different, it will stimulate, you know, different muscle activity, a little, you know, brain sort of thoughts about what you're doing. And then it clicks in how much you enjoyed the first part of what you learned in your lesson as a goal. Right. So,
yeah. But I definitely love having a plan, knowing exactly what you're going to practice and what you're going to work on going into the studio. You know, Carol, I shoot more from the hip. I walk in, I'm like, okay, whatever. Which except coming up to competition time. One of the other
Can I say
things
one
that
thing?
yes, please.
So just to add to what I just said earlier, part of the teaching as well is focus, learning how to focus. A lot of us, we hear all the time, focus, focus, stay focused. We don't know how to focus. A lot of us don't know how to focus. I'm still learning how to focus, but I know a little bit more than a lot of other people, you know, on how to learn, on how to focus, right? Which also ties into competition. I'm going to give you a simple example. I had this one lady, this young lady on my table, working on her, and then she was explaining to me her problems, what she was struggling with when she's competing. And I said, okay, I think what you need is focus at the competition. And I said, I'm going to give you one little simple tool to use. I had her grab an index card. I said, in that index card, you're going to have it with you at the competition. Before you go into the competition, though, I want you to pick 2 or 3 things, maximum 3. 2 would be the best of the 2 things that you're going to focus on the whole competition. Right? For example, I mean, she was a standard dancer. She's going to have to stay left. Right? That was one of her. So that, and then the second one was taking longer steps, longer stride steps going backwards. Right? I said, okay, are you sure this is what you want to write? This is what's going to keep, you know, what's going to make
this is the focus.
Yes, right? Is this your focus? And she said, yeah, I think that's what's going to make me perform best. And I gave her this little homework. The following day, she used it. And then she called me the day after that. She's like, oh my God, I can't believe that simple little thing of an index card. All I do is just read it before I get on the dance floor. I have my 2 focus skill that I have to focus on. That's it. Nothing else matters. Nothing else matters.
Love it.
Yes.
Edson, I want to thank you so much. Yeah,
I
want to thank you so much for interviewing with us today. I found the topics to be compelling. The tips that you provided are going to be so helpful to our Pro-Am dance community. And I'm so proud and happy that Kim has introduced me to you as well, since your history goes long and far. But thank you so much for joining us on our Dance Diaries.
Thank you for having me. I love what you ladies are doing. It's amazing.
Thank you. Thank you so much. This was born of This is born of complete authenticity. And it's going to be put forth with passion and positive energy. So Edson, my friend, you know. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Talk to you soon.
Okay.
Thank you. Have a
good
wonderful
night.
evening. Bye-bye now.
Bye.